looks like we are. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open the rooms, and you're all are going to either get transferred again or stay right here with me, and we'll start our discussion. So have a great time, and we'll see you here shortly. All right. Welcome all who stuck it out here with me tonight in this, we're considering group one. I'm going to go ahead and allow you all to unmute yourselves so that we can have a fairly informal discussion, though I still ask that we use the raise hand feature when we're having the conversation, just to make sure that we're not all speaking over each other. We have a fairly large group, but it would be great to do a very quick round of introductions. Maybe if you could just let us know your name, where in the city you live or work, or why you're interested in this project. And I always like to say just real quick what you love about Petaluma. If you could sneak that all in about 15, 20 seconds, that would be awesome. So I'm going to go around and say your name, and you should be able to unmute yourself. We'll start with Sue Conley.
Hi, I'm Sue Conley. I live on Prospect and Bodega, and I think that Petaluma is a perfect city already, and if we can make it better, that's well.
Excellent, excellent. Welcome, Sue. Next, we're going to go, I see a phone number, 707-481. I see two folks on the screen. Is that you? I think that's two of you, yeah?
It probably is. I'm Marja Tar, and my husband, Fred Tar. We don't live specifically in this area, but we live within a half a block of
Great.
This zone. And we think it's a lovely zone, but I would love to see some improvements made. And thank you for the forum tonight, the opportunity to speak.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. Next, we're going to go to Stephanie Sanchez.
Hi, so this is Stephanie Sanchez. I live over in the Payran district, and I'm very concerned about the lack of trees and an environment that's healthy for children and adults and everyone in between. And I live near the river, and I would like to see preservation of what little we have left of the natural world. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Veronica, and I'm going to recommend, if you all feel comfortable, it would be great to see your faces, and you should be able to turn on your videos if you'd like to. If not, totally understand. But next, we're going to go to Veronica. Oh, Veronica.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I am Veronica Olson, and I live in the Oak Hill Brewster neighborhood. And I am here tonight because I am very interested in how our city is going to be developed and our future. And yeah, I guess we're just introducing ourselves, but I'll.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great. We'll definitely come back and jump into the fun part here in a second. Just want to get a quick snapshot of who's in the room with us. Next, we'll go to Babs Kavanaugh. Babs.
Hi, I'm Babs Kavanaugh, and I live in Petaluma. I live over on 8th Street, right around the corner from McNair Park. And I am here with Friends of the Petaluma River, and for protecting the river and making it accessible to our community, and particularly to develop stewards among our children for caring for it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Babs. Next, we're going to go to Teresa Barrett.
Hi, I'm Teresa Barrett. I'm actually the mayor of Petaluma, and I'm really only here because I want to hear what all our community has to say. So I will not be participating. I will just be observing today. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, Mayor. Thank you for joining us. Next, we'll go to Mario Garcia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Garcia. I live in the northeast part of town off of Sonoma Mountain and Corona. I missed my quadrant meeting on Monday, so I wanted to hop in and kind of see what's happening in this part of town. I've lived in Petaluma for 1 year now, and I absolutely love it. And I'm committed and interested to see, and I want to contribute also to the direction that this great city is gonna be leading towards. So excited to meet everybody and hear more about the northwest part of town. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Welcome, Mario. Next, we'll go to Ben Peters.
Hi, everyone. Ben Peters. I live over by the cemetery. I was born and raised in Petaluma, and I have plenty of thoughts about the future of our town.
Excellent. Look forward to hearing them. Next, we're going to go to Bernie. Bernie, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you
I
go.
think I'm unmuted.
Yep, we can
Okay.
hear you now.
Right. I'm Bernie Album, and I'm very interested in pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and making it as accountable as possible. And I'm also interested in keeping natural areas from getting flooded and causing runoff and causing our river to become polluted and overflow the banks of the river. Sea level change, as you mentioned before, is definitely one of my concerns.
Great. Thank you so much, Bernie. Thanks for joining us. We'll come right back to you here shortly as we launch in. Next, we'll go to, I think we have 3 more folks. Rick. Rick, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hi, my name's Rick. I'm here with my wife. She's off screen. We live in the Oak Hill Brewster area. I work here and live here. We're just interested in staying in touch with the community and finding out what's going on. So anxious to hear what the conversation goes.
Excellent. Welcome, Rick. Thanks for joining us. Next, we'll go to Don. Don, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hey, Don Foreman here. Just popping in to see what everyone's got going on to say, you know?
Excellent. Welcome,
Thank you.
Don. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
Last but not least, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing, but I believe it's Aiden or Adon. Aedan. So sorry if I'm mispronouncing. You should be able to unmute yourself. Okay. No problem. We could always come back to you. Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen again so I could show you this great fun virtual board that we have set up to take notes for our session here. So as I mentioned earlier, it looks like Michelle's already doing a great job of taking some notes for us. There's a series of questions that I would like to ask you, and we could do this however you want. Folks typically gravitate and want to get right into location specific. We can do that as well. But generally, we like to cover what are the unique and special areas within this area that you would like to highlight, and then what some of the primary issues are. And then related to that, these areas of change where you see concern, what do you envision it growing up into? How do you see it changing? And what, oh, sorry, someone just sent me a message. And how, and specifically when we're talking about a location that you think is an area of change, what type of uses can go there and how it could evolve. At the same time, we're gonna then talk about areas that you would like to generally keep the same, or areas of stability as we reference them. And then concurrently, again, if you can throw ideas at us and we can kind of cover this however you'd like, but we'd also like to get to what improvements are needed infrastructure wise, the transportation, are there more parks needed in the area, or anything else that you think might help improve the area. So with that, if we can generally start with what you find in this area that's unique and special, I'm gonna actually just move over to the map. And my teammates here will be taking notes on the side, which we'll come back to, but I wanted to see if we can kind of zoom in on the map here and just have a kind of location specific conversation maybe at the same time, and take it from there. So who would like to start? And just as a reminder, it's easiest if you use your hand raised, just because we have a fairly large group, and then you could unmute yourself and we can get started. Ben, it looks like you have your hand raised. Over to you. Ben, you should be able to unmute yourself. Is that working for you? There you go.
There we go. Yeah,
Excellent.
there's actually 2 agriculture areas in town. There's the strawberry farm, and then there's the pumpkin patch. And this being, you know, a historical agricultural community, we should really try and preserve and protect those 2 spots in this part of town.
Excellent. We're going straight to preservation. I love it. And can you point out for me, unless Heather, you could direct me, where in town those are? Or where these
I
areas-
can tell you where they are. I'm not super savvy on the Miro board yet. So
No
the
problem.
strawberry patch, Ben, I think you're probably talking along the boulevard. So if you go north on the boulevard, I'm trying to tell them when to stop, Ben, if you see it before I do. We're kind of around.
Is it north of Skillman?
No, no, it's
No.
south of Skillman.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe in this area. Okay, great.
And then the pumpkin patch is along 101, way north.
Wait, okay.
Yeah.
Up here somewhere. Okay,
I actually think the pumpkin patch, I guess it is in the city, isn't it? It must be that right at the border of the city.
excellent. Thank you so much, Ben. I love starting with areas that we love and want to preserve. That's excellent. Who would like to go next? Don't be shy. You could literally at this point speak about whatever you'd like to, anything you'd like to change about the area, stuff you'd like to preserve.
I would like to go next then,
Sure.
if no one else is going.
Yes, Veronica.
Veronica Olson. Hi, everyone. I would like to look at protecting and restoring our riparian forest and wetlands in the north part of the river. That's essential for our response to climate change, to biodiversity loss, to extreme weather events, a myriad of upticks for that, a lot of bang for our buck, as they say, in our current circumstances that we are faced with.
Excellent.
The other thing that is important is looking at how do we do that? What does it look like as a community?
Excellent. So plans to preserve those areas and enhance those areas the best we can. Excellent. Thank you so much, Veronica. That's great. I see a hand raised. Which of you two would like to speak next?
I think it's probably me, my
Okay.
hand. The Lynch Creek Trail is an area of absolute beauty. And
Okay.
it goes from, Heather, I know you know where it is. It's definitely from Water Street or Lakeville all the way over to McDowell on this quadrant's map.
Right. It starts basically at Washington, just east of the boulevard. So down further. Washington's at the
Oh,
very
sorry. There we go.
bottom
There
and
we
just
go.
basically right where you see the river
Mhm.
at that, and then that's kind of a starting point. I don't think technically it's Lynch Creek Trail at that point, but it winds around and then it crosses
North
it crosses
McDowell.
over by Deer Creek Village, right by Deer Creek Village, over to Lucchese Park is where it kind of goes across, and it's that
Excellent.
east-west connector. We had a lot of discussion about that on Monday night. We were talking about the northeast quadrant and really what an opportunity to make improvements to increase connectivity through that corridor.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
Also,
I'd
I
like-
just wanted to point out that we have, I think where you put the sticky notes was way too far up.
Oh, is it okay for the?
For the
river?
for the river, yeah.
Would you like it down
That's probably more like it.
Yeah.
right here? Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
for pointing that out, Veronica. Excellent. Did we have one other thought? I think you might be muted. And then Sue will come to you
Go
next.
ahead.
Oh, fine. This is Fred Tarr,
Hi, Fred.
and I just wanted to point out the lack of vegetation, the lack of beauty along Petaluma Boulevard North and also along Washington. There's a lack of trees, a lack of vegetation. I think we could also go with more dieting along Petaluma Boulevard. I'm so much in favor of that. Sometimes it means that people have to go on alternate paths to get home if they're in a rush. But I think those are the two things I would push for. And as far as more trees along Petaluma Boulevard North and actually south too, but we're not talking about that right now. I don't think it's a high expense, and I think it's some of those things could be just so much an improvement for Petaluma. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you. And we definitely noted those. So just in general along Petaluma Boulevard North and Washington, beautifying. Excellent. Thank you for that. Next, we're going to go to Sue and then Stephanie. I don't know if you had your hand up. We could definitely come to you next. So Stephanie, you're up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I live on Madison and near Payran, between Madison and Lakeville. And there's absolutely no vegetation to speak of on the entire street. It's horrible. It's just, it would be such a huge improvement. I've talked to neighbors about it over the years, and I get nowhere because I think most people think they're responsible for the trees. Is that true? They think they're, well, anyway, so that's something I think is just so important to look at in terms of global warming. And then the other thing is that myself and a few other people who are participating have over the years tried again and again and again and again to get some traffic mitigation on Madison. It's just boring to talk about it at this point, but I live on a speedway and I've said it 1,000 times to everyone that's on the city council and everywhere else. So those are my two big issues, along with preserving the riparian environment, which keeps getting intruded upon down by where Brewster's is. It's terrible what that, there's some big building going in with which is built so close to the edge of the Petaluma River that it's astonishing, with everything that people say in the city about respecting the footprint of the river. So those are major concerns that I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And Stephanie, you said just Madison in general, there's no particular intersection, but just in general, there's traffic issues that you're.
It's a speedway between Payran and Lakeville, and everyone knows it, and everyone on the city council knows it. They all agree, and nothing is ever done about it. And now there's a river bend is going in, I guess, which should be a park, because there's absolutely no parks in this entire section of Petaluma. None, none, none. And it's terrible. If I had kids, I'd be just so upset about it. I am anyway. So trees, respecting the footprint of the river, and getting some greenery here in a serious way along the street.
Excellent.
all the way.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And Sue, over to you. Thank you so much for your patience. Should be able to unmute yourself. Is that working for you? There we go.
I just wanted to say that I think that the policy of allowing second units for minimal permit fees is really working in our area, and we see a greater diversity of neighbors because of it. And I also just wanted to add to the Lynch Creek Trail comments that if we could have trails like that through town so that riders don't have to be on the streets, it would be incredible.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for that, Sue. Very helpful. Okay. That was all really informative. Is there, like, in this area, when we're thinking about land uses, maybe other than residential, which I realize is probably the core use in this area, is there anything, as we talk about general areas of change, that could evolve into something different? We've heard you all loud and clear that riparian corridor is extremely important to preserve, dealing with traffic issues, really bringing a lot more green and beautifying streets. Any type of particular uses other than, we mentioned parks as well, but other types of uses that you think might be beneficial in this area that aren't currently here?
And I would say that too, you know, as many of you are hearing some of the needs for housing, you know, looking for areas that the community does feel like is conducive to increasing housing or increasing densities. And is there any such area in this quadrant?
Great point, Heather. Thank you. Ben, I see your hand raised, and then we'll come back to you, Sue.
Yeah, so 3 points. So the outlet mall, I think, has pretty big support for being rezoned into some type of mixed use. So that's, I would hope that's not controversial, but yeah, so that's the outlet mall. And then up in the very northwest tip, moving past that outlet mall, which we don't need to spend time on. So right across the street from the pumpkin patch is the Petaluma North KOA. And so that has been very successful at hosting climate refugees from the wildfires. And that is something I think could be very easily expanded to host both temporary housing and more permanent low-income housing. Yeah, across the street from the pumpkin patch there.
Right, move it across. There you go.
Got it.
Yeah, and then I will say, just south of the pumpkin patch, south of the river, there is a mobile home community, and you know, I'd say non-elitist thinking, mobile home communities are probably the quickest, fastest, best way to get to affordable low-income home ownership, right? And so rather than have low income be primarily the universe of renters, if we could consider expanding mobile home parks, I think that would be a creative and interesting use and worthy of discussion within the general plan context. There's some city-owned parcels around there. There's some smart-owned parcels. There's the driving range, which, you know, some people love the driving range. That takes up a lot of acreage and could certainly be at least partially repurposed. So I'll stop there with those 3.
Excellent.
Section.
Thank you so much for that, Ben. Next, we're going to go to Sue and then back over to Fred. So Sue, you're up.
Well, I'm a big fan of mixed use, and Heather is shuddering because we got into controversy on our mixed use along the river. But
Oh, I'm not shuddering, Sue.
you remember that?
Fond memories.
But I'm a big believer in it because I think people should work near where they live, and it's just a matter of the right kind of housing by business. And I also think that housing above retail is an old-fashioned downtown style that would work really well in Petaluma. We could do much more housing on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the commercial buildings.
Excellent. Thank you, Sue. And just to make sure, location-wise, is that along Petaluma Boulevard North, generally on the southern end? Is that?
Yeah, that would be a potential. And then there's already some mixed use on 1st and 2nd Street along the river downtown.
Got it.
Yeah, in the other quadrant,
Just
in
outside the area.
southwest quadrant. Yeah.
I'll just place it down here for now. Excellent. Thank you so much, Sue. So over to Fred, followed by Rick. Great to see some new hands popping up. Fred, you're up.
Okay, back to mixed use. There's an area on Payran and the Boulevard North that's underutilized. There's a shopping center there that's definitely underutilized. Mixed use in that area, and possibly on the other side of the street where there is a granary right now, but I'm not mentioning to remove ag uses, but there's a lot of unused space in many parts of this town that we need to increase densities for more housing possibly, and also more interesting types of commercial uses. We definitely need markets in that area, but that's my suggestion. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Fred. Next, we'll go to Rick and then followed by Bernie. Rick, you're up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the same thing that Fred said. That whole section of Petaluma Boulevard between, actually more between like Lakeville and Washington, there's a lot of businesses in there that are kind of run down and could use, I don't know if incentive or something to be revitalized. It is slowly happening. I know there's like a wine tasting shop that went down kind of at the end of, I think, Kent Street. And also something I thought about that I wanted to kind of get Heather's opinion on was that I know there's a lot of older homes on the boulevard that have been, the occupancies have been switched over to business. They're kind of a mixed use. And I know that zoning carries that it has to have a commercial aspect in whatever use is going on there. I always thought that commercial, that requirement for the commercial aspect on those old homes that used to be homes kind of limits that when they really could function as a home again, especially in this climate where we have a shortage of housing, kind of, too much commercial space. I think it would be nice to give that option that could be a home and not necessarily be have to have that commercial use component to it, because originally it was a home. It looks like a home, even though it's on the boulevard. It just seems like if you just give them that option that it can be a home, or it could be mixed use, or it could be a business. I think that just opens a lot of options for existing buildings.
Yeah, Rick, we have definitely had those conversations internally. We see it a lot too, kind of in the A Street area of downtown too, where you have houses that were built as houses. They're now in mixed use zones. They transition to office and they lose their non-conforming status as a home and can't transition back. It's definitely on staff's radar too, as something that maybe needs to be discussed when we go to update the codes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that point, Rick. Next, we're going to go to Bernie. Bernie, you should be able to unmute yourself. Bernie, are you able to unmute yourself?
I got it.
There you
I
go.
got it.
Excellent.
Okay. I'd like to see the city of Petaluma get an up-to-date environmental impact report so we can ascertain which areas are flood plains, flood zones and wet plains and wet water. A lot of the areas that have been mentioned already, having been here through 2 periods of extreme rain and flooding and the Petaluma River over flooding, areas such as that it looked very tempting during dry weather to build are usually underwater. The whole entire parking lot of the Outwood Mall is underwater, submerged. Much of northern Petaluma Boulevard is underwater when we get a lot of rain. I hope we do get some rain. I don't know if I want as much as we've had during those times, but we do want to preserve areas and not build on them, because that exasperates flooding and water problems. And the city and taxpayers have to pay for restoring areas that get ruined by floods. One particular area that I'm interested in is the Corona Reach area, the area on northern Petaluma Boulevard from Payran to Corona. And there's a smart bicycle and pedestrian trail that goes right along the smart tracks in that area. And on the left is the area that I'd be interested in. You can see it on the map. It has a black line. As you follow the black line, it goes out and sort of scoops, goes along. What is that gray line? Is that 101? No, that can't be one. It must be the railroad tracks.
This is 101.
Yeah, that line.
Yeah,
what is that?
yeah. That's 101.
Okay, so that area would be very good to have it as a park, because it is wetlands. It's usually wet all year long. If we didn't have such a drought now, it would probably even be wet. And there's been talk about wanting to put a road through there. There is an approved project on the city plan right now to put the Rainier extension through there. And that would be a terrible place to put a road through. It should be preserved and not developed. and also considered for a park. Okay, that's
Excellent.
it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernie. Excellent. I see a new hand raised. I would like to give you some space here, Mario, and Babs and others who haven't had a chance to contribute, please do if you feel so inclined. So next we're going to go to Mario and then come back to Ben. So Mario, you're up.
Hi, thanks. With the discussion about housing in this part of Petaluma and actually any part of Petaluma, I would just hope the plan is considering walking scores when doing this kind of development. The reason with that is more people is going to mean more traffic. And if walking scores are considered early on when we're developing any type of housing anywhere in Petaluma, that's more people who are able to walk to do their things versus jump in their car and contribute to already the traffic problems here in Petaluma. I know I mentioned earlier, I've lived in Petaluma for a year, but I'm not new to Sonoma County. I've lived here for 6 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the traffic in the area, but walking score is what I'd like to throw out there early on. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Mario. Next we'll go to Ben. And you're up.
Yeah, so in the very southwest corner of this quadrant, so people may not be aware of this, but the county was looking to rezone unincorporated areas, and that unincorporated area just catty corner to the city limits was selected as a rezoned parcel. People would know it as the Bodega Market. And so there's going to be potentially a lot of housing going in right in that corner of town. And so what is over there, there's there's like a gun store, there's the old fishing shop, there's some kind of businesses right in that corner. So it's worth considering what's happening outside the city limits as well. And so that's what's going on in that little corner.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ben. And I just realized I didn't get you all oriented real quick because I was so anxious to jump in and have the conversation. But just for frame of reference, this dotted line is the city limits. The red line that's outside of it is the sphere of influence. This line with the dashes is obviously the railroad, and this thicker line around the outside is 101.
The red line is the urban growth boundary.
Oh, I'm sorry, urban growth boundaries, not the sphere of influence. Thank you for that. Yep. Excellent. So this has all been extremely informative. We thank you so much. We have about 6 or 7 minutes. I also want to just do a quick recap, maybe towards the last 5 minutes of what we've heard to make sure that we're characterizing everything accurately. But before we do that, I do see a couple more hands that just popped up, and then we'll transition and do a quick recap before we move back to the main room with the rest of the folks. So John, I see your hand raised. Welcome to the group, John.
Yeah, even though I live on the over there by Lucchese Park on the other side, I do ride my bike quite a bit over down Skillman Lane and Bodega Avenue, and crisscross across a couple of roads down there. And the lines that are drawn, the red line for between Skillman and Bodega, which is all gray now, it's all county, all the county land out there, way past the red line in the gray area. Yeah, out there, that whole section between Skillman and Bodega Bay. There's huge amounts of small little ranchettes, and there's like possible little housings and housing units that are going in. A lot of groundwater wells may be out there. But that red line seems to be rather arbitrary, and it's set out by old agricultural lines, but it's all broken up into basically ranchettes now. So that whole section there is possibly ripe for, I don't know if what the county might do there and how it restricts how many buildings there are per acre. But that whole section, if we're looking for low-cost housing additions, even in small parcels, I know lots of folks, not farmers moving out there. So anyway, that whole section there could be reevaluated as why is that red line been put in those positions versus the long history ago versus now. I would be willing to bet it's not a huge agricultural production area anymore.
And just to quickly respond to that, the urban growth boundary, which is that red line, was approved by the voters. So changes to the urban growth boundary require going back to the voters to change the urban growth boundary. So just for that kind of little bit of background, that is what it would require to modify the boundaries of those red lines.
Yeah, at the moment, the county is in control of those now, since that's county property.
Yeah.
And it's the county, working with the county zoning folks and the folks what they're approving in construction out in these areas. If we could work with them to meet our needs, we can still, even though it's outside city, can we have agreements with the county as to what's going to get built out there and what's going to happen to that land out there, and work with that county to fill some of our needs for housing.
Excellent. Thank you, John. And John, you weren't here during the introductions. If you want to let folks know real quick, just for folks' reference, John is on the General Plan Advisory Committee. And John, you want to let folks know where you generally reside as well?
Okay, so I reside on, if you go up to Washington and Sonoma Mountain Eli intersection, so I'm about a block away from there is where I live.
Excellent.
But I do move all over the city doing things. And I'm on the committee, and I'm on like six different committees for the city and county doing things.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Thanks for joining. I see Stephanie, you raising your hand. We'll go to you and then Ben, and I think I saw Fred and team. Fred might have left. Stephanie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't want to sound so obsessed with the direct area that I live in, because I'm a member of the Petaluma Wetlands Alliance, and I'm extremely concerned, and I know everyone in my neighborhood is, on what happens beyond Lynch Creek going up towards that proposed Rainier overcrossing, which should absolutely never happen. That part of the river, that riparian area, should be a park, and it should never be developed. And it more or less, the Lynch Creek Trail in that area more or less compensates for the fact that we have no parks in this area at all. So that's probably more important to me and neighbors that I have here. We talk to a lot of neighbors about this, that we don't want to see that developed, and we're very concerned about potential flooding anywhere north of us. So just needed to tell you that.
So Dave, that's further up. If you took that, it's where basically all those tributaries are coming in there. Yeah, kind of right there.
Right there.
Close enough. That's where the Rainier it would go over under the freeway, over the river, over the tracks, and then it would hit Petaluma Boulevard, right where that little city limit line is, right there on Petaluma Boulevard.
So this general area.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to just emphasize that section of the river is one of the most beautiful, pristine parts of the entire river, with birds and animals of all kinds. It's terribly important that we respect that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm so sorry, Fred's wife, partner. I forgot your name. Fred raised his hand and he took off. So over.
I'm Marcia.
Marcia, good to see you again, Marcia. You're up next.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the streets, Liberty, Kentucky, Keokuk, Keller, and Howard, that are all within this area. They're beautiful old streets with lovely homes, huge trees that line each of these streets. And because of the huge trees, oftentimes we have sidewalk issues. And one of the things that I would love to see would be for the city to come up with a better sidewalk plan that would help homeowners a little bit more than it currently does. Currently, if you need sidewalk repair, as I understand it, it's up to the resident whose property this is on to repair the sidewalk. But some of these old sidewalks are in desperate need of repair. And if the city could come up with a little bit, maybe a new plan for sidewalk renovation, then we wouldn't have so many pedestrians who would love to walk this area, walking and actually having their eyes raised from the ground where they're afraid they're stepping on cracks or going to have a tripping hazard. and they would actually raise their eyes and see the beauty that is in this area. So I would love to see the city come up with a new plan regarding these sidewalks. Also, the repair of these sidewalks. Also, these locations are perfect places for bicycle riding. And if we could figure out a way to make a lot more of them, they're very wide streets, and they can take parking and oftentimes a bicycle route. I would love to see more routes on these streets. Again, the idea is in 2030, we are to get all of our folks out of cars a little more frequently. And these two possibilities might help that particular thing. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Excellent. I'm going to take one more comment. We are pretty much at the end here. We could maybe do a quick recap and then move back to the, actually, we are in the main room. Everyone's going to come to us. So Ben, I'll let you cap it off here before we do a quick recap and transition back.
Yeah, real quick. There likely should be more bus stops in this part of. You know, there was talk of having a bus route go down Keokuk. I think that should be reconsidered, as well as potentially going out Bodega. And then I will say we almost made it this whole time without talking about Rainier, but that did come up. And I think it's important to note that not a single member of this breakout group is in favor of Rainier, or at least has voiced so publicly.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. Excellent. Okay, so I think folks are already starting to trickle back here, and I'm going to close the rooms out so they all come back here soon. But our conversation ranged from obviously the riparian corridors being extremely important and making sure that those are adequately preserved and enhanced. There was some conversation about where mixed use can go, which was really great to hear, and intensifying maybe some residential uses in those areas. We did hear also a lot about streets that can be improved and mitigated, whether there's impediments like the trees that we mentioned, or pedestrian and bike safety, which is great to hear from you all as well. I think this was fantastic, a lot of great information. You all are very environmentally and sustainably focused, which is always great to hear as well. There was a lot of conversation about the flooding and making sure that we're thinking very proactively about that. And I also really love, Mario, your point of thinking about walk score, like where are we putting our housing and what's available for folks to get to on foot versus having to depend on a vehicle to get to what they need throughout the day. And I know that wasn't an exhaustive summary, but I hope that generally captured the themes before we transition back. And we are going to do a report out. And as usual, Michelle, I think I'm going to put you on the spot to do our report out. Unless there's someone from the group that would like to report out for our group, you're welcome to do that as well. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close all the rooms now and ask folks to trickle back here with us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.